I've been dreading making this video for a while. And as anyone does, who goes through life, eventually it doesn't last forever. Of course, what I'm referring to right now is my pet, Hughie, my centipede. And this is Hughie right here. It's an unexpected video to make. For any of you guys who have watched my channel, maybe you guys have only watched the bug pinning video, and unfortunately, unfortunately for me, fortunately for you, you guys are in luck. And a lot of my videos have been kind of everywhere. I'll have a video, whether it be dreams or ghosts or whatever, whatever I want to talk about. But I don't know. This feels like a pretty serious, topic to me. A pretty serious video. And I want to be very clear about this. I totally get, because basically what I'm about to say is there's been a lot more tears shed today than I thought there would be. And a lot of you guys may hear that and you're saying, Spider-Man, what are you talking about? Why are you crying over a bug? And there's a part of it where I can't even deny that. I mean, I get it. But honestly, that's what I wanted to make the video about today, is I really do believe that these animals are way more than just bugs. And I want to tell you a little bit about why. About 3 years ago, I took a class. And I took this class at college, and it was an entomology class, and it was amazing. It was amazing, and in that class, I met some of the best friends of my life. I mean, I'm only in my 20s, right? And I haven't gotten the chance to live all the way, to get older, to gain that wisdom, to gain that experience. But without a doubt, I can very easily say that these friends, these people, they were some of the best that you will ever meet in your lifetime. And I can't even begin to express how thankful I am for that. And I know a lot of you guys, maybe you're not in college, maybe you've been graduated from college for a long time, but maybe you can relate to that. Just being very, very thankful. And what that friendship eventually led to is, and pardon me, guys. Like I said, there's been a lot of tears shed today. And I have been emotional, I'm not going to lie to you. So I got this. This is a coffee mug. Completely, I think it has a bottle of wine in it, give or take. But we're gonna hope that, we don't finish this entire thing. Because at the end of the day, Spider-Man wants to, be a good influence. But, man, I don't really drink. And, yes, I am of age. But I will say this, I don't really drink often, so it's a very special night, and I wanted to commemorate the life of Hughie, and I know if Hughie were here with me, I don't think he would drink wine, but I guarantee you, I could soak some chicken in wine, and maybe that would do something. But anyways. Awesome. That's awesome. Okay. What that friendship eventually ended up leading to was more than just a friendship. It was discovering the world around me. It was seeing nature. It was being a part of what I believe something more. I mean, almost every single day I would go out and we'd look for bugs, and we'd find bugs, we'd find spiders, and everything that you can imagine. Right, and I'm really fortunate that where I'm located, we do have a wide variety of bugs. And we also have Hughie. Hughie here. Hughie is a Scolopendra heros. And this morph is native. Screw it. I don't care. I'm just dropping hints. You guys are going to be able to find out who I am sooner or later if you really want to. But this is native to Oklahoma and Texas. maybe a little bit in different parts of different states and the neighboring areas, but for the most part, you are going to find this morph of Scolopendrohirus, and specifically, this is the giant red-headed centipede. I do want to go out on a wild limb and say that there are way more of them in Texas and that they are more prevalent in Texas, but I could be totally wrong about that. But I will tell you what, there is a spot where I am from, and you can find these in the hundreds. And I want to be very clear about this. I am not over exaggerating. Like the spot that we were able to find for these guys, you can go out there and you can find several that are bigger than Hughie here. But about this size usually, in a few hours. So, of course, for one of the first times ever, I've never been centipede hunting in my life. What are you kidding? It's, I think at this point it's like 2022. I'm 21 years old. Right, just getting to the cusp of being able to legally drink, legally do whatever, right? You think that you're so old and you're so mighty, and I'm not that much older than 21, and I know a lot of you guys are much older than me, and you're like, this silly boy, he has no idea, and I don't. That's the fun part about life. Is one of the awesome things that I've really discovered at this point is I keep having this notion that, like, man, I'm really mature, I'm really emotionally mature, I'm really this, I'm really that, and then I just find out that I'm not. I'm put into situations and tests, right? And often, I don't pass these tests. But I mean, is that not the purpose of life? But getting back into it, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here, and I honestly have a lot to say, so the opposite of what I want to do is get sidetracked right now. Whenever we went out that night, we ended up finding a whole bunch of centipedes, and funny side note real quick, that night we did find several, and there was one of them bigger than this guy right here. This guy is about 8 inches from, head to the anal legs, and actually, whenever my friends were on their way back to where they live, one of them got out of the enclosure, and they didn't know the entire ride. They had no idea. and for any of you guys wondering, for any of you guys who may be asking or wanting to know, yes, these do bite, right? They bite really, really bad too. If you get bit by one of them, you're looking at three days, depending on your pain tolerance, day and a half to 3 days of excruciating pain. I'm talking excruciating. I'm talking, okay, imagine putting a butter knife into your oven, right? And then imagine getting copper wire and then running it around that knife, right? And then attaching a battery to it so it's electrified, and then stab that knife right into your arm. Yeah, that's about how it feels, which is awesome. I mean, as somebody who's grown up with sci-fi and fiction and just the imagination in general, the idea that this animal, has such potent venom is really cool. But anyways, we did end up finding many of these, and actually, we did end up taking them to Waffle House. We went to eat to Waffle House afterwards. And at Waffle House, there was a group of guys, probably in high school, obviously younger than us, but they, of course, we brought all the centipedes inside, by the way. And by the way, again, they were all in enclosures. So I don't want any of you wondering or worrying that, oh my gosh, that's a whatever hazard bringing, I don't care, okay? They were in enclosures, like little plastic cups, right? It's fine. And anyways, the waitresses did not mess with that at all, I'm not gonna lie. They were like, ah! But, no, there was a group of kids, and they came over, and it was honestly a beautiful moment, right? Because I have had Hughie for 3 years, but in that moment, my friend Walker convinced some of the kids to hold this centipede here, this very one, Hughie. And Hughie, of course, didn't bite them, and they were able to hold Hughie for a long period of time. And Walker, during that period of time, one of my friends was able to, I guess, give them a full scientific rundown, talk about the whole shebang. And Hughie just kind of stayed on that guy's hand, and I remember, kind of telling Walker and wishing in the back of my mind, just hoping, that Walker would let me take this one home. I don't know if I would ever feel confident holding a centipede, you know, and I want to be very clear, I've held centipedes. I mean, on my own time. I mean, like, getting it out of its enclosure, right, and just holding it on my own time. Probably not. You can call me a wuss for that, but I guess maybe I'm a smart wuss because man, I just don't like to deal with 3 days of excruciating pain. And a lot of people say, well, it's a chance it may not bite you. It's like, dude, like, okay. All right, cool. Anyways, yeah, and I was able to convince my friend that night to let me take this guy specifically home, and I mean, I can't express to you, I was probably more excited than I've been in my entire life. And funny story, actually, about a year before I even, you know, met this friend group or even switched my major over, you know, to doing entomology, I actually, you know, just because I wanted to, just because I was like, man, I feel like I have some type of connection to this thing. Got it tattooed. And yes, it does wrap all the way around my arm. And absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It was almost prophetic in the sense that it's like, you know, one day I knew that I would be owning one of these, and shoot, maybe I'll be owning these for the rest of my life. And I do not mean this in disrespect, only in the highest regard, but every centipede that I would ever own from this point on that's around this size, and that is a red-headed Scolopendra, I am naming Hughie. Hughie Jr., Hughie Jr. 2, Hughie Jr. 3, Hughie, I don't care. I hope I get to Hughie Jr. 500 by the end of my life, right? All of them are named Hughie. Hughie set the standard for what I believe to be is the most incredible experience owning a bug in my lifetime. Man, that's easy for me to say. I've owned scorpions, I've owned tarantulas, I've owned vinegaroons, I've owned millipedes, I've owned spiders, I've owned everything, minus the stuff that you can't own, bug-wise. Well, not everything, you get the point. But I've never had a centipede. And how cool are centipedes? I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but these guys right here, they're older than trees. They're not older than plants in general, but they're older than trees. And these guys evolved around 400 to 450 million years ago. Chew on that apple for a little bit. Humans, we've been around for about 300,000, and I think we've been around for a lot longer than that. But I don't want to get into that in this video. But regardless, we haven't been around for a fraction of the time that these awesome guys have been around. And obviously, it is very, very saddening to me that Hughie has died, but what would be a better way to honor him than using his body to demonstrate and show you guys different elements of a centipede safely? Right? And that is exactly what I wanted to do, and I want to be very clear about this. Whenever I owned Hughie, you guys can call me crazy for this, but, you know, I would kind of get a vibe, right? I would kind of mentally ask Hughie, do you want me to hold you? And he said every single time, no, I never want to be held. And I respected that for his entire life. I did let friends hold him, and actually we did end up taking him to several expos where I used him as a real-life demonstration, and Hughie behaved beautifully. He just was right, an amazing animal, and all of these bugs and little critters, and you're probably looking at all the other bugs in here too. All of these bugs were collected by me at the age of, like, not making a joke, 6 to 7 years old. I was very, very young, and I actually don't really have space in my other boxes, and I kind of wanted to give Hughie his own space, and this is kind of my memory box, right? This is the beginning of Spider-Man, right? Who the young Peter Parker was at 6 to 8 to 7, whatever you guys want to do. I don't care, 8, 9, whatever. Whatever you guys want to do. At a very young age, I've been into this, you know, and you can even see right here, at a very young age, I did manage to find little baby Hueys. I had no idea they could get this big. But what a beautiful animal this is. 450 million years, their design has remained unchanged. I believe that to be a testament to how beautiful and perfect their design truly is. I really hope that the camera is able to focus. Alright, I'm back, and what I was actually trying to do right there was just get the cameras to kind of focus, and what I wanted to focus on is the forsupials. These are the mouth parts of the centipede, and actually, they are modified legs. You'll notice centipedes have a lot of legs, but almost none of them have quite 100 legs, despite their name. I know, how lame. But beyond that, they use these forsupials right here to envenomate their prey, and this is actually what they inject you with whenever I speak of this alleged 3 to whatever how many days of your pain tolerance can handle being tased and burned alive. But yes, they do have very, very big, beautiful fangs, and I'm just trying to show those off right here, and trying to cover the background to hopefully it adjusts. And yeah, I mean, going back to, I obviously, Hughie told me mentally, I don't care, whatever, that he didn't want to be held, so I never held him. I respected that, and to finally get to hold him right now is kind of nuts. It definitely makes me sad. Obviously, I would have wished to have done it on different terms, but obviously that's not always the way that life plays out, and regardless, very fortunate. Over the day, you know, I've kind of just been thinking about what Hughie did mean to me, right? And whenever you ask the question, what can a bug mean to somebody, a lot of people would scoff at that. They would say, what do you mean? But losing Hughie, his death, it's not just his death, is it? That friend group I talked to you about, all of us have gone our separate ways. I talked to a couple of them, but for the most part, life has taken its course, and I've never been mad about that. But having Hughie around was always a testament, always a symbol, if you will, of kind of that was kind of still alive, right? That just, you know, despite the fact that maybe I haven't talked to them in a while, you know, maybe it wasn't as far away as I thought it was, and it's not that simple, is it? Because it's so much more than just friendships. Relationships, you know, have, you know, come into fruition and left, right? And Hughie's been there, right? I've lost a lot of my best friends that I've ever had, you know, and unfortunately just to petty, dumb stuff. But Hughie was there. And you know, more recently, one of the hardest things that I've gone through thus far is my roommate, Norman, the Green Goblin. You might have seen him in past videos, but yeah, he is gone too, and of course, you know, life always takes its course, and again, I'm not mad, but I would be totally lying if I didn't say that I do feel a lot of emotions about it. I do feel sad. You know, and for my roommate to have left not even a few days ago, and for Hugh to die today, it does feel symbolic in a way. You know, and a lot has changed. A lot has changed. And I think that's the big focus for me today on Hughie has been there. Right? No matter what you want to say about these bugs, Hughie has been a witness to everything that I feel like recently that has molded me into the person, the man that I am today. It is crazy to think, I got him and he was about this size. He was, as we, discovered online, fully grown, and I figured I only had about 6 months with him. I never would have ventured to guess that I would have gotten 3 years. And during those 3 years, I showed him off to many people, my friends, people who were interested. I posted him on my social media, and it was a blast getting to watch. And I think that is the privilege of anyone who owns any animal, and I would say especially, I'm biased because I really love these animals, but especially for bugs. Because if you own a pet bug, if you own a pet tarantula, a pet centipede, you know, if you watch them, just how alive they are. A lot of people want to immediately discredit these animals. They want to, for some reason, say that their intelligence is nothing. That they are completely stupid, without reason, without any type of thinking at all. And I know for anyone who's owned any type of animal, you know just how untrue that truly is. Watching Hughie and getting the chance to watch him over the years, I can't express to you how much I've gotten to learn about centipedes. I don't know if you guys knew this, but they love to be clean. And in fact, Hughie, multiple times a day, would go all the way down with his little mouth, and he would clean all the way down his body, each and every leg. And then once he was done with that side, he would go to the next side, and he would clean each and every leg. And usually whenever he finished that, his antenna. I love his antenna. Honestly, centipedes are rather gruesome looking if you're being totally blunt honest. But I think that it is, primarily their antenna that give them just the slight appearance that maybe they're not monsters, and of course they're not. They're absolutely not monsters. Another one of my favorite things about Hughie is getting to watch him dig. There's not a lot that we know about these centipedes and how they do things and why they do it the way that they do, but watching Hughie, I was able to learn exactly how they dig and exactly what arms they use and how they elongate their body and what they do in order to move so much dirt so quickly, and it is nothing short of beautiful. Masterful. It was moments like that really taught me it's important to pay attention. And sometimes you have to have patience. Obviously with a bug, you can't take them on a walk. You can't just, observe them out in the open. They're bugs. They're in an enclosure. You're going to have to watch them. You're going to have to spend time with them. And I certainly tried to spend as much time with Hughie as I could. Whenever I would watch him, there would be a lot of, periods in my life where I really did feel like the world was kind of crashing down around me. There was a lot of periods in my life where I doubted myself so much. And I'm not saying Hughie was like, go Peter, you got it. No, but honestly, knowing that I had a pet as cool as Hughie, I don't know, it was motivating. It was like, it made me feel unique. A lot of you maybe have the question, a good question, can the centipede form an attachment? Can it love you? Unfortunately, I'm a realist. I don't know if a centipede can love you, but I will say this. If a centipede could love you, honestly, I think that Hughie got the closest to that out of all of them. I don't really know how to describe that other than, and you can attribute this to me being a source of food, but whenever I would come into the room, he would come out. Whenever I would walk into the room, I would, sit down on my bed, and after a little bit, I would see his little antenna come out. And he usually was hiding all day. Normally just hid. But whenever I'd be around, he would come out. And sometimes I'd go and blow a little air through his enclosure, and he would like go up to it and then go and sit by it. But to answer the question, it's hard to say. I will say this though, and I do know this with certainty. I do know that, God had it out for all of these animals to exist. God had it out for every single thing that we could ever comprehend. And to answer the question of could the centipede be capable of love, could a kite, could a dragonfly be capable of love, could a cricket be capable of love, I don't know. But I do know that they were created with love. And speaking of love, I actually was thinking about how I wanted to pin Hughie. And I'm going to pin him just like this, in the shape of an L. Over the course that I've owned him, again, I thought that I knew everything. I thought that I've just known, and I thought that I've known what love is. Man, I absolutely had zero idea what love was. It wasn't really until kind of recently that my relationship with God really got good. It's still not great. Unfortunately, I still sin a lot. I know we all do, none of us are perfect, but yeah, any animal that is created with God's love has to know something. And I don't care what you guys say, Hughie knew me. And it really is symbolic again, because I really feel like over the course of these last 3 years, I've really learned what love is. I've really come closer to God. I've really seen what I think is getting closer to the truth. I've understood the importance of being good, of being kind, of being virtuous, of respecting people, of being sympathetic, being empathetic, being there for people, knowing how to be there for people, knowing what to say to people, knowing how to respond to situations. And over the course of these, this time, Hughie has been there. Hughie has been there, right? And of course, again, Hughie's not really doing anything. It's just crazy to think that, it does feel like a long time ago. It really does. It doesn't feel like that long ago, but it does kind of feel like a long time ago. And, man. I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate, but just how quick everything is going nowadays. It just feels like time has slipped out from beneath me, truly. And I often wonder, is it ever going to slow down? Well, maybe not. I did hear a study once that said that if you are partaking in an activity you haven't done before, it's going to move a little bit slower for that time. I guess that's good. Something to look forward to. And speaking of all of this change, the other day, I had this thought. I was wondering to myself, would younger me be proud of who I am today? I never got that six-pack. Never got that Ford Raptor. A lot of things I didn't get. But I think about that, and I'm sitting right now. I'm making a YouTube video. I'm pinning the largest species of centipede in America. I have multiple bug collections in my house. Hundreds of Transformers, of figures, Legos. I've connected with the world. And I feel like if I were to have asked myself, would younger me be happy with who I am today, just a year ago, 2 years ago, I would have said no. And I'll be totally honest, guys, there's so many things that I could be doing better, so many things that I know that I need to do better. But I just really hope that younger me, would and could know that in some way or another, things are pretty sick. My pet centipede may have died, but shoot, I'm getting to keep him in my collection forever. My pet centipede may have died, but over the course of his life, so many monumental moments for me happened. My centipede may have died, but what his life represented was so much more than you could ever imagine. There's been a lot of points in my life where I have been very thankful to God, and thankful to Him for many reasons. Blessings beyond blessings. But among all of those reasons, it has always been very clear to me that the love that I have for these animals, it is not shared. A lot of people don't love these animals, and in fact, they detest them. They say, ew. They say, gross. Maybe that's what you think too, and I'm not going to judge you, and whatever. You think whatever you want. But, man, out of all the blessings that I can think of, how grateful am I to, in this life, been endowed by the Creator of the universe, of love, of everything, of me, of you, of Hughie. To be endowed, to be fully endowed with love that leaves no question for all of these weird little shits right here. Man, and they are weird. They are. But there's beauty in that. Hughie here, he can bite you and it can hurt and it might be scary and he might look scary, but there's beauty in that. The way that he looks, he needed to look that way, and then after evolution found out by making him look like that's what he needed, it never bothered to change. There's beauty in that. Looking at any animal, any bug, that's different, that may not look normal. They look exactly the way that they're supposed to look. And that goes for me and you too. A lot of us, we have something wrong with us. We have a disability, we have physical disabilities, we have deformities. We have ways that make us look different. We have ways that set us apart. And if we were in a crowd of 1 million people, everyone would see us. But that's good. Because no matter what you want to believe, all of us look exactly how we were made to look. There is beauty in that. And again, I thank God that I am able to see the beauty. For instance, this wasp right here. This wasp looks deadly. Huge. Maybe you can't see it super well. This is called a cow killer wasp. And no, it's not deadly. Yeah, it could sting you. A lot of people would look at that and they would say, huge wasp, run, ew. I look at that and I say, look at those yellow patterns on its abdomen. Look at its orange legs. Look at the way its body is so symmetrical, so uniform. Look at the way its wings fold perfectly upon itself, and it's almost as if it's a perfect mechanism that without fail during their life will aid them and will guide them and will fly them. I'll look at spiders, scorpions, other animals that people think that are gross or scary or anything, and all I can see is evolution and its beauty and God's beauty. Truly, scorpions having a tail with a stinger on the end of it. How cool is that? They have their own freaking weapon. How cool is that? On their body, how cool is that? Centipedes' front legs evolved into venomous fangs. How cool is that? Tarantulas, spiders, man, they've been around for a long time. Oh, they've been around for a long time. And it's recent that web building spiders have come into existence. And of course, those being directly, as I refer to it, web building spiders that are able to build webs. That's beautiful. All of it is beautiful. A lot of people will look at wasps. They'll say, wasps are beep, or wasps are that, right? Nothing good. But I look at a wasp and I don't see that at all. In fact, what I see whenever I look at a wasp is I see a family, I see parents, I see young. And a lot of you guys, if you didn't know this, wasps, you know, they have eyesight, they can see, but they are pheromone driven. If you go around their nest and they have young kids in that nest and you are stressed, you're afraid, you're anything, and guess what? Whenever you're going up to attack a wasp nest or you're doing anything like that, you're putting off stress or fear or whatever, any type of pheromone, and they're going to come sting your ass. But I'll tell you what, if you were to go into your mind, and no, I'm not kidding, I'm not joking, if you were to go into your mind and do some Zen meditation, whatever you need to do, and calm yourself and say, I don't want to release any pheromones, I just want to exist in the same space as this wasp. And if you don't exert any type of extraneous emotion, you are going to be able to get away scot-free. And most of the time, unless you're in Asia and you're dealing with murder hornet. Anyway, I'm talking about America, whatever, right? And I'm talking about like paper wasps and stuff like that, right? Don't go test your luck, okay? Don't. No, I see that and I think, oh my gosh, that is incredible. That's beautiful. That's freaking awesome, because what that is parental care. Right, and a lot of you guys may not know this, but bugs, a lot of bugs, and whenever I say bugs, I want to be clear that I'm mainly saying arthropods. I just don't want to say arthropods every freaking time, right? A lot of them don't have parental care. In fact, scorpions, spiders, they're some of the ones that have it, but centipedes have parental care, but a lot of bugs, you know, they don't have this sense of parental care. And you know, obviously because they don't have this parental care, there's not really this need to like protect their kids overtly, but wasps, they do. Right, and let me ask you a question. If you had a house and somebody was coming near your house and they look stressed out, they're holding a rifle, right? Because you're holding a bottle of wasp spray, right? So that's like the equivalent of like a 1-gauge shotgun, you know, in a home invasion scenario. They're holding a 1-gauge shotgun. They look stressed out. They look scared. But they're coming at you. They're coming at you to eradicate you. What are you going to do? Well, if you live where I live, you'd probably deal with it. Right? Right. So how are what these wasps doing any different? And right after that, let me propose you another question. How is that not an insane, overt sign of intelligence? And before you can even answer that, it is. It is an incredibly overt sign of intelligence. Incredibly overt sign of intelligence. Like, honestly, a lot of Hymenoptera, which includes ants, bees, wasps, all that fun stuff, they are, shoot, beyond what we know them to be in terms of intelligence. Like, I don't think we've really scratched the surface of what those animals are. And, of course, a lot of people are not oblivious to the idea that bees are pretty intelligent at this point, with a lot of social media and a lot of stuff that goes on, but a lot of us do not know that a lot of these other animals are very, very intelligent as well. And in fact, I wanted to make another point about Hughie. Hughie was incredible. I've said it a million times. I'll say it a million more. I love Hughie. Whenever Hughie would eat, it was fascinating because sometimes I put multiple crickets in there at the same time. And my boy Hubert here would basically, let's say I put like 3 in there. He would go and he would bite one, run it over to the corner of his cage, and then he'd go and immediately like know where the other one is because he already like felt it out. And he would run to it, bite it, take it to the other one, and then he would go to the last one, and he would bite it, and he would eat it, and then he would go to his pile of crickets, and he would eat those too. Right, and that's just a million out of a million things Huey did that I'm like, bro, like, there has to be a level of just a lack of understanding scientifically on our part, because honestly, guys, centipedes are not very studied at all. In fact, they're one of the most understudied animals on the planet. So if you want to be a future entomologist and you're looking for what to study, hey, if you can find a way to relate it to human benefit, economic gain, and money, and human health, guess what? You have a project. But get past those first hurdles that I just mentioned first. Yeah, no, we don't know a lot about them, and we don't know a lot about their habits, what they do. So getting to watch Huey and his habits, and guess what, guys? I can't honestly just say that because I've watched Huey. I know how Scolopendrohirus works. Huey is one centipede, but one guy. Guys, I don't know if you want to believe this or not, but bugs have personalities. Yeah, they all act different from each other, which is, again, going directly into my thing of like, there's so much more about them that we don't know. For sure there is, right? And for sure there is. And it's just one of those things where watching Huey do all of these sorts of weird things and his grooming and the way that he would just kind of conduct himself and sometimes like stand up on like, he would like stand on like the last legs right here and just kind of like look around or like feel around with his antenna. And I love that. His antenna would just flop back and forth. Just stuff like that. And again, it's a blessing to have gotten to be so close to one of these amazing animals for so long, truly. And again, 3 years owning a bug. I don't know if a lot of you guys have owned bugs, but 3 years is a long freaking time to own a bug. I mean, most of the time, you're looking at like 3 to 6 months is solid. Like, that's good. Unless you're owning a tarantula, then, unless it's a male, you're doing something really wrong. Or sport, there's exceptions. I'm not getting into that. But, just incredible. And I am about to wrap up, and you guys may have noticed a little bit different than last time. I'm not really actually putting pins through Huey. This is because centipede bodies are very, very different to a body of that of a beetle or a moth or a butterfly or a cricket or or any of the bugs in here, or even a tarantula for that matter. And in fact, tarantulas are supposed to be put in a vial with alcohol, and screw it, I'm gonna do my own thing. I'm like Miles Morales. I'm gonna do my own thing, right? And right, so I'm doing my own thing with this. You're supposed to put them in vials. Guys, for all of you watching, this is not the correct way to do it. You're probably thinking I'm a horrible influence for anyone who is into this and watching it, but no, I don't care. This is my life. This is my pet. And I will say this, though. Whenever he hardens, he's permanently there. And one of the big things about it is that I did kind of want to not put any pins through him in case I did want to move him at some point. But obviously, with centipedes like this, it's never recommended after they die because they are so fragile. And in fact, every little leg, every, tubule on his body, every little segment is going to become completely hollow as all of his guts kind of form into like a solid mass and they stick to the outer rim. And so whenever he does kind of harden, he's not going to be soft. And for those of you wondering what he feels like, he feels kind of leathery, kind of like cold leather. Very, very cool texture. He's going to be rock solid. I'll put it that way. And if I were to try to bend him out of an L shape, let's just say that Huey would be chewy. And that wouldn't be good. I don't want that at all. So of course, we are pinning him in this way because the L, representative of love, Huey, very loving for a centipede. I think he only bit people a few times, and hey, that's really loving for a centipede, guys. You gotta count your blessings where you can get them. For sure. For sure. Huey, would you mind if I took these fangs out? Would that bother you? Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna, wrap up on this, and as I wrap up on it, I kind of want to give some closing thoughts. For any of you guys who had doubts and hadn't heard it a million times before in this video, I really love this bug. I really loved Hughie. I loved owning him. I loved having him. I loved watching him. I loved whenever my friends who were braver than me would come over and they'd hold Hughie, and I'd get to see, you know, just how beautiful he is. And he is beautiful, and to see the beauty in these animals, you can't just look at them face value. You have to see all the years of hardship, the extinction events, the nothingness that these guys have had, and yet they persevered. And I think there's a lesson in that for all of us, because whenever God calls us to love, he doesn't just mean the people around us. He doesn't just mean your friends and your family. He means to love. A lot of us were still wondering and uncertain what it is to love. Maybe we've never felt it. Maybe we desperately want to. Maybe we felt some type of love, but it hasn't been the love that we want. For any of you guys feeling like you are in a deficit of love, maybe you want it from a partner, maybe you want it from family, maybe you want it from friends. A friend that, you know, haven't talked to in a while, and I get it. But I will say this. Whenever you feel as if you are in a deficit of love, call to God. God has infinite love to give. Jesus Christ has infinite love to give. And I see this now more than ever, you know, now that I'm wrapping up pinning Hughie, that love goes beyond everything that we could imagine. And it really does. It really does. For those of you wondering, yeah, I did get mostly done with that wine glass, which is why I've been rambling for so long. But again, really important video for me to make. It's really, really, really important to me. And obviously, getting back into the scientific side of it, if you're wondering how to pin a centipede, first off, don't, because that's illegal, and don't do that. I'm just kidding. If you want to pin a centipede, my best advice to you, I'm just going to put this up to the camera, is just put the legs out in a dynamic position as if you're pinning any other bug, right? Obviously, they're going to have a lot more legs. And then for the marsupials at the front, you just want to use a pin, and I have a pin on the right and the left right here, and just pulling them open. I'm going to use a few pins on the antenna and make sure that they're straight and they're not going to go anywhere. But after that, I'm pretty much going to be done. And I'm going to be calling it a night. I really wish that I would have been able to make this video later in my life. I wish that I would have had Hughie for a little bit longer. But it's also very important for me to know and to understand that, you know, life isn't on our terms, and other life isn't on our terms either. And we have to appreciate that. We have to cultivate it. We have to show our love. And yes, I did show Hughie. I told Hughie I loved him every day. I'm not kidding. I'd walk up to him. I'd talk just like I'm talking to you guys right now, and I would tell him about my day if I had no one to talk to on the days whenever I was really, really alone. And I didn't have anyone to talk to. And I always made sure after every talk to tell him how much I loved him. And I'm like, Hughie, I am so glad that out of everybody, you listen to me. Oh man, you can say it's sad all you want, but he was a good listener. And I am incredibly thankful for the time that I did get. For all of you guys out there, time is short. We never have as much time as we think. We never do. And because of this, I challenge all of you to go out and to make those memories, to do those things that you want to do, to be that person that you want to be, to push the good into the world that you wish to see in it, to be a part of a movement of love, of unity, of grace, to push, to persevere past the troubles and hardships that we face as a society right now, and to come together as people, not in separation of labels, but in the unity of love of God. And I challenge all of you to not forsake the time that you have, that the ones that you love have. I promise you I challenge all of you. I challenge all of you again, just like I close out all of my videos, to be the best person that you can be. I'm gonna be back at some point in the future to make another video. Hopefully it's not so somber. Well, for those of you who did stick around till the end, I'm very thankful for you and listening to me blab on about my story about my centipede, and I think that it is important for me to get that out there because I may never, I will own many more centipedes in my lifetime, but no other centipede will ever be the first centipede that I own in my lifetime. And there is something very special about that, and for those of you wondering maybe where I've been, or what the next video is going to be about, or when the next video is coming, it's been a while. Honestly, there's been so much change in my life. So much change and so much different things that I'm recognizing that I'm losing, that are never going to be the same, that are never going to be the way that they were before. But also I'm recognizing so much beauty, so many things that I never thought possible, so many revelations, so many sights that I have driven past a million times but have neglected to see the scope of what our Creator has painted for us. And I'm starting to see this beauty. And I greatly look forward to wherever the future takes me. But it has been tough, and it has kind of made me not really be in the mindset to make videos. But I'm definitely going to get back into it. I want to. I need to. So, until the next one. You guys have a great one. I'm sure I'll be back soon. I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I think that Hughie dying is kind of like, okay, time to get back into it, right? And here we are. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.